Hey everyone, I was asked how I hooked up the temperature sensor on this Briggs Stratton engine here in the LTX 1000 project tractor. Most Briggs engines only have a single oil drain, so you can actually put this sensor straight into the block, or you can do it my way I did here, which I did a small piece of pipe coming off the engine to a T, to a reducer, and to the actual temperature sensor. And this wire right here is the actual temperature wire. You can actually take this adapter and go straight into the block, but I don't really recommend that because every time you go to change your oil, even though you only change it every 6 months, you gotta unhook this, take it out. This setup here is a lot better, and it's less likely of a chance of damaging this, less likely of a chance of damaging everything really. So anyways, the piece of pipe is tightened right into the engine, and it comes to this T. Everything is really tight, as pretty much as tight as I can get it without stripping it. There is some pipe sealant on these, but even with the pipe sealant, it does drip a little bit. Then you come off with another smaller piece of pipe and you can put your cap. Or you can do what I did here, is do an elbow to a cap here at the bottom, which actually makes it really nice when you go to change the oil, because it actually drains right down into a drain pan. So this wire here just goes back up to the gauge, and on the gauge it's just a positive and negative. So a keyed on positive and a constant negative. And it also has a backlight in there as well. And that's pretty much how you do it on the Briggs. You got to, pretty much on all Briggs as far as I know, you got to either screw this right into the block, or you got to run a T-fitting right here. Because as far as I know, none of the Briggs engines have dual drain plugs. Okay, here's how I did it on the racing lawnmower. As you can see, this one goes straight into the block. I'll show you in a second the reason why I did it like this. I believe there's an adapter here, and then it's my sensor, and in this case it's my yellow wire is my sensor wire, and this actually works extremely well. This engine does get quite hot doing runs on it because this is a go fast mower. It's meant for speed, and this engine does get quite hot, especially in the summertime. But this is how I did it on here. Since this has a dual drain, which I'll show you in a second, I don't really care about this side, so I tightened the adapter into the block as tight as I could get it, and I tightened the sensor into the actual adapter as tight as I felt comfortable. So again, these are brass. You do not want to strip them. You do not want to damage them. And it's just a little wire that comes off the end. Here's the other side of the Kohler engine. As you can see, here's where the pipe comes out. I actually extended this pipe out a little bit farther because I had my headers. And in the stock location, when I go to drain the oil, it drains the oil straight onto the headers. So I actually had to come out quite a bit farther. It does not interfere with the tires, since on this tractor here, the front end is farther forward than stock. I believe about 4 to 5 inches farther forward. And then it comes out 2 pieces of pipe, and I got an adapter in the middle, second piece, and the cap on the bottom. And this is just an Allen cap, which in my situation has worked out. But as you can see, no matter what, they do drip a bit of oil. Even with pipe sealant on these, they will still seep a bit of oil. I could probably take it all back apart and redo it, but really there's no point in doing it. So on these Kohlers, at least this model of Kohler, you got dual drains, so you can actually pull it from both sides of the engine. You can get your temperature from one side, you can get your oil drain on the other. Next upgrade on this, I'll mention in this video, is an oil pressure gauge. I've been told the oil pump on these are in the front, and there is a sending unit in the front of the engine underneath the carburetor. So you got to take apart the carburetor, and you can get to the actual sending unit for the oil pressure. So that'll be later on when I go to pull this back apart. So hopefully that helps you out getting oil temperature. Really, I do recommend it. On these engines, any sensor you can physically put on these engines, I do recommend doing. So oil temperature, oil pressure, especially if you're running a modified, is a very good idea, in my opinion. So I'll talk to you later. Please keep redneck like always, and please share I'm comment.